Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be podficking the second chapter of How to Stop a World-Ending War. This is Chapter 2, Training Begins. Somewhere in the New World. So, what brings you to my ship, Redhair? Whitebeard asked. Shanks stopped in front of the Yonko and handed him a folded piece of paper. A message. Whitebeard read the note and burst out laughing. "What is this, brat?" he said with an angry look on his face. "Old man, I know you're not going to like this, but you can't trust Teach. He's trying to get a hold of the Yami Yami no Mi, and once Thatch finds the fruit, Teach is going to kill him for it. When that fruit is found, you need to get it as far from Teach as possible, or really bad things are going to happen. I can't tell you any more, but if Teach gets that fruit, the consequences will be deadly, not only for your crew, but for the world. Also, please don't show this note to anyone other than Marco. Signed, Akka." "I don't know what's in that note," Shanks said, "but the one that gave to me said, and I quote, 'Tell him to do what it says or things will end very badly for his entire crew.' He said to make sure you understand that it's a warning, not a threat, and I can assure you that he's trustworthy and knows what he's talking about." "I'll keep that in mind. Now get off my ship, you brat," Whitebeard roared as Shanks turned and walked away, leaving a giant bottle of sake for the other Yonko. "Ace, I know you're leaving today," Luffy said, "so I wanted to give you this." He held out a folded piece of paper. "Promise me you'll do what it says, even if you don't want to." Taking the piece of paper, Ace snorted. "Yeah, right. Like I take orders from my little brother. I'll take it, though." Blocking his path with a serious expression on his face, Luffy said, "Ace, I'm not letting you out of this treehouse until you promise me." Ace was taken aback by the sudden seriousness his brother was displaying. "Fine, I promise." "Good." Luffy now had a bright smile on his face. "Take this too, and open it when you get to the Grand Line," he said, handing Ace another folded piece of paper. "Oh, and I have a couple of friends coming to train with me after you leave. It's okay if we stay here, right?" Ace nodded, tucking both papers into his pocket. "Just don't destroy this place. I know how crazy you can get. Now come on, it's time for me to go." "Right," Luffy said, beaming. Side by side, the two of them walked to the harbor in Fuchsia, and Ace hopped into his boat. After Luffy and the rest of the village said their goodbyes, Ace set off, disappearing into the horizon as Luffy secretly used Conqueror's Haki to stop the Lord of the Coast from attacking his brother. A couple weeks later, a certain green-haired teen and a blue-haired girl arrived on the island. Having sensed them before they got anywhere near it, Luffy was waiting for them in the harbor, and grabbed the man in a hug the moment he set foot on land. "You're finally here!" he yelled. "Good to see you, Luffy," Zoro said as he untangled himself from the other boy's rubber limbs. "And this is Kuino, right?" Luffy asked as he turned to Zoro's companion, who had just finished tying the boat to the dock. Zoro nodded. "I finally managed to beat her, and just like I thought, she wanted to join our training." "Zoro's been talking about you for years now, so it's nice to finally meet you, Luffy," Kuina said as she walked up to the boys. "Come on, guys," Luffy said as he ran towards the forest with a huge grin on his face, forcing the other two to chase after him. "This is where we'll be living," Luffy excitedly said, showing off the treehouse. "You built this?" Kuina marveled as Luffy used his rubber powers to bring all three of them inside. "Well, Ace and Sabo did most of the work, but I helped," Luffy said. "Wait, you guys gotta see the crow's nest." He climbed up the ladder and opened the trap door, beckoning them to follow him. "Wow, look at the view," Kuina said, gazing out to the sea. "That's for the three of you, right?" Zoro said, referring to the ASL flag that was flapping in the wind above them. Luffy nodded, and the three of them went back downstairs. "Honestly, I'm surprised this place hasn't been completely destroyed," Zoro laughed. "Come on, Zoro, we're not that dumb," Luffy said indignantly. "We train somewhere else so we don't break our house." "So tell me about your brothers," Queen interrupted. "Both of them are 3 years older than me, and they're really strong. Ace is a hothead," Zoro silently laughed, thinking of Ace's fire powers, "and he left for the Grand Line about a week ago. Sabo's really smart and likes to plan things. He left the island years ago, and the three of us promised to meet on the Grand Line." Luffy smiled, thinking of his brothers. "So are you going to train today or what?" Zoro asked. Luffy nodded, and they went to the brothers' training spot. As they were walking, Luffy made eye contact with Zoro. "So, how'd you manage to save her?" It was pretty easy, actually. All I had to do was make sure I had a sharpening stone on me at all times, Zoro replied. Luffy smiled and nodded. When they reached the training site, he said, "Okay, Quina, I need to see how strong you are, so you're going to have a match with Zoro." Zoro unsheathed one of his swords, and Luffy sat on a nearby rock as the other two moved to the middle of the clearing. It quickly became apparent that Quina was very skilled, and even though Zoro was clearly much stronger, she was doing well. Zoro eventually knocked the Wado Ichimonji out of Quina's hands, and Luffy clapped his hands, ending the match. "Quina, you're very strong," Luffy said. "I don't know much about swords, so I'll leave that part of her training to you, Zoro, but I am going to teach you Haki." 3 months later, at Reverse Mountain. "All right, we finally made it to the Grand Line," Ace cheered. While his crew was celebrating their entrance into paradise, he suddenly remembered the pieces of paper that Luffy had given him. One had a bunch of names that he didn't recognize and instructions that his brother made him promise to follow, but the other was still a mystery. "Open it when you get to the Grand Line," Luffy had said. Well, I made it, so it's time to see what he gave me, Ace thought. He almost started crying when he saw what was on the paper. "Luffy, you..." "Is something wrong, Captain?" Deuce came up behind him. Smiling, Ace shook his head and showed him the paper. "My younger brother gave this to me before I left." Deuce started laughing as soon as he saw it. You got a great brother, Captain. Come on, let's join the party." As the two of them joined the others in celebrating their arrival, Ace thought about the paper in his pocket. On it was an elegantly drawn hand making the "I love you" sign, and a shakily drawn heart with "Ace" written inside. Underneath the drawings was a message that said, "Sabo and I love you, so don't forget it. See you soon, Ace. P.S. I asked Makino for help since I can't draw." Luffy, Ace thought, you and Sabo are the best brothers ever. And that is Chapter 2 of the How to Stop a World-Ending War fic. Thanks for listening, guys, and I will see you next time.